All right, now that you've been introduced to simulations, we're going to talk about how you can simulate an athletic performance to see if one performance is considered to be really, really good or really, really bad, and how that performance can affect the ability. So let's talk about hockey, okay? May 28th, 2008, we had Sidney Crosby. He was clutch in the Penguins Game 3 win. So in statistics, specifically statistics in sport, we have this vocabulary called clutch. So what does it mean for a player to be clutch? Whoopsies. All right, so a player is clutch if he has a greater ability to play in high pressure situations. So remember before we talked about how ability is something that can't be measured. But we can say that in certain situations, an ability might increase. And we want to know if that ability increasing, if you're able to simulate it by random chance, or if that ability does actually change. So that's kind of like a weird way to think about it, but clutch. A player has a greater ability in high pressure situations. So given infinite amount of chances, they would perform better in certain situations. So if you've ever played any kind of sport, there's always considered like a playoff or a championship. Consider yourself, have you ever had a better performance during a championship? You're just like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm doing amazing. We can say that's either random chance, or can we say that you actually are performing better in that situation? So who is Sidney Crosby, you ask? He is my favorite hockey player, Pittsburgh Penguins, and he's pretty awesome. So somebody you should know. Not really, but I think he's important. So let's talk about his data. So 2008-2009 regular season, Crosby took 238 shots on goal, and he made 33 of them. Okay, so we want to see if we can, we want to create a graph that represents that 33 out of 238 shots. Okay, but in the playoffs, he took 79 shots, so a smaller amount of data, and he made 15 of them. And we want to make a bar chart to represent Sidney Crosby's performance. So bar chart, I like to have percentages on the left-hand side because we learned with the misleading graphs that percentages just give us much stronger data. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to calculate my percentages. And then I'm also comparing my two categories are the regular season and the playoffs. Okay, that's going to be how I'm going to form my bars. Now I've got to find the percentages for each performance. So regular, I have 33 out of 238, which is going to give me a percentage of 13.8%. When you plug this in your calculator, it'll give you 0.138, which is 13.8%. Okay, but in the playoffs, he had 15 out of 79. That's going to give me 0.189, which is 18.9%. So immediately looking at those percentages, he did far better in the playoffs than he did the regular season. Okay, so when I graph it, make sure you go by equal increments. You start at 0, and we're going to go up from there. Okay, and I really only have to go about to 25 because he's only working in the lower or teens percentages. So regular season 13.8. Just try your best to make sure that the bars are equal sizes. And then in the playoffs, he had 18.9, so a little bit higher. Now we can also represent the amount of shots that he missed on our graph. So we can do those shots directly next to each other. So for example, if he made 13.8, that means he missed 86.2. So I can make my graph go all the way up to 86.2, wherever that is going to be, and I can make a chart. I would just have to make sure that I said, okay, these are his missed shots. You can also do something called a segmented bar graph. A segmented bar graph actually stacks up the two bar graphs, and then the graph is going to go all the way to 100%. But really what I care about is the shots that he made, because that's what I'm trying to compare, and that's what I'm trying to simulate. So briefly describe what you see. I see that Sidney Crosby had a far better performance in the playoffs than he did. So Sidney Crosby's performance was better in the playoffs than in the regular season. All right, so that's the bar graph that it wants you to talk about. Okay, so questions from there. Keep going. All right, so during 2008-2009 regular season, Crosby took 238 shots on goal. We already talked about that, so that was 33. Again, I'm going to write that percentage. It was 13.8%. Okay, and then we had 15 out of 79. That was 18.9%. I'm going to stop this video here because it's getting a little lengthy. So move on to the next video in order to talk about how we're going to actually simulate.